Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Delafield Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, February 10th. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. If you would please call the roll.
Supervisor Mahoney-Ogden.
Present.
Supervisor Miller.
Here.
Supervisor Wolfley.
Present.
Supervisor Berkowitz.
Present.
Chairman Kranek.
Present.
Thank you.
Next item, item 4, citizens' comments, public comments from citizens regarding items not on or not on the agenda. The board may not engage in discussions. I don't see any citizens in the audience this evening, so I'm going to move on to item 5, approval of the minutes for January 27th.
I motion to approve the January 27th Town of Delafield Board of Supervisor meeting minutes.
A second.
Motion is second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next item would be item 6. I'd look for a motion on approval of vouchers for accounts payable and payroll, please.
Motion to approve check register dated February 10th, 2026, checks numbered 69211 through 69245, amount of $1,702,833.36, and payroll check register dated February 13th, 2026, the amount of $16,810.38. The substantial amount on that, the two large transactions would be Lake Country Fire and Rescue and the Board of Commissioners of Public Land. So.
A second.
Oh.
Motion second to approve accounts payable and payroll. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next item, item 7, communications for discussion, possible action. The first one is the November and December 25 Lake Country Fire and Rescue report, the latest monthly report that is available. It's included in our packets. It's also on the Lake Country Fire and Rescue website under transparency, under fire chief's reports. And the only thing I want to point out is that, actually a couple of things I want to point out. That LCFR was not browned out at all in November and December, which is pretty awesome. So thank you for that. And then just want to point out the response data by district. November, City of Delafield, 49% of the calls went to the City of Delafield. 12.5% of the calls came here to the town. In December, 42% of the calls went to the City of Delafield, and 17% of the calls were here at the Town of Delafield. So if there's any questions regarding LCFR, it's my understanding that Chief Fenning will be at our next meeting. Next item would be item B for communications. We have the January 26 Waukesha County Sheriff's reports from January, showing the calls and the volume of calls in the town. Questions regarding the sheriff's report, or does the sheriff have any comments they'd like to make? Yeah, we got copies
For January.
for January.
Just for January.
Yeah.
Your part will come later. Yeah.
Okay. Next item, C, salt update. There's a memo, and I'll turn it over to Administrator Lookie to kind of give us an update on what's going on with salt in the town of Delafield.
So I'm sure you've heard all the rumblings on TV about how there's salt shortages everywhere. We picked up our final 700 tons of salt recently, and that's all that we're going to get for the rest of the season. So we're kind of hoping that it isn't as bad for the rest of the season. And it's looking like there's going to be 50s next week already, so hopefully everything melts. But if the time comes where there is a salt shortage and we can't get any more and we don't have any more, then I'll be back to discuss some alternate solutions for you guys.
But just want to point out that that salt shed was packed full at the beginning of the season, so it's been a interesting winter thus far. So, well, we got fall spring coming up here this weekend. It looks like still got March and April, so
Right.
we may be rationing a little bit more salt
Right.
as needed. So let's hope for an early spring, even though the groundhog didn't say we'd see one. So, unfinished business presentation by Waukesha County for recycling. I'd like to welcome our friends from Waukesha County. We got Abby and Alan. If they come to the podium and kind of give us an update on where things are with recycling, and kind of, I think you got a little history lesson for us too.
Yeah,
so.
we do. So thank you. Again, my name is Alan Barrows. I'm the Land Resources Manager for Waukesha County, and with me I have Abby Lidke, who's our Recycling and Solid Waste Supervisor. We put together some handouts for you. We'll walk a little bit through the history of the recycling program, kind of focus on what's happened over the last 5 years as there's been some changes in our program. Then Abby will take the lead on presenting that information. I'll step in, kind of finish with some of that dialogue, but we're here to answer any questions, and we kind of walk through the intergovernmental agreement, what the changes are, and so I'll let Abby take it away.
Thank you. And everyone, thank you for having us. As Alan mentioned, you have a handout in front of you just outlining essentially our talking points today. So I will begin by providing some program context, and that is all around this responsible unit, this concept of responsible unit. So in 1990, the state enacted its recycling law, essentially enforcing that everyone shall recycle. And about that time, the county determined that it would form as a responsible unit. And what that meant is that 25 communities, including the town of Delafield, participated in that collaborative movement. And essentially the concept behind it is that one local unit of government would be responsible for implementing statutory requirements on behalf of the collective group. So as a responsible unit, with Waukesha County having that designation, we have an ordinance for recycling. We enforce that ordinance. We have a compliance assurance plan that's been ordained by the state for enforcing that. We also operate a very robust education and outreach program. We provide access for collection, processing, and marketing of curbside recyclables, and we complete all of the necessary reporting to the DNR on behalf of those communities that we serve. As a responsible unit, we keep our communities informed in a number of ways, primarily through 3 mechanisms. Number 1 is our annual community meeting that we just held 2 weeks ago. So included with the information I shared with you today is a small infographic of some of that information that we shared back to the communities who attended the meeting. And this is just your local impact for participating in our program. We call it our infographic, just what this program means to you. So in addition to our annual community meeting, we do provide bi-monthly community update emails that are essentially just a summary of all the happenings within our program and what's coming ahead. Lastly, we do maintain a website page specifically intended for use by municipalities. So although we maintain information for residents as well, the purpose of this is to share all of those resources, tools, and information that a specific municipality would need to help administer their own recycling and solid waste programs. What I'd like to emphasize, though, is what's really great about the Waukesha County program is what's made it a success, truly, is that collaborative, the collaboration between municipalities. And what I mean by that is by leveraging combined recycling tonnage from 25 communities, which puts us at about 25,000 tons annually, we've really been able to enhance our market position by driving down costs associated with processing materials and increasing our opportunity to earn revenues on the sale of that material. So getting back a little bit to this concept of a responsible unit, as I mentioned, in the 90s, state law was enacted. We formed the responsible unit with these 25 communities, and shortly thereafter, we built a recycling facility in the city of Waukesha. And that was what we call a dual stream recycling facility. So it's that old style of recycling where you have your small bin and your papers are separated from your containers. We operated out of this facility for many years. It was wonderful, but naturally, like most things, that equipment reached the end of its expected life, processing life. So roughly around 2013, 2012, we hired some consultants to study what should be the future of our program. What was determined were two things primarily. Number one, we should make the switch to single stream recycling because that's really the way the industry was headed. So single stream recycling, if you don't know, is what you commonly think of recycling at the curb today, your larger container where everything is mixed together. Now with that comes two great things. Number one, convenience. People can throw everything in the bin, we get a lot more material, but it also means we have to do a lot more educating about what should not be in the bin. Coupled with that, though, we now have this aging dual stream facility. We recognize the need to invest in a brand new processing system. We were very fortunate that at the same time we were undergoing all of this studying and determining our future, the city of Milwaukee was going through the exact same exercises. Their dual stream facility was aging out, and they were looking to secure a future similar to us. So what we did was we forged a partnership with them to combine our mutual tonnage, so the 25,000 tons approximately that Waukesha County has, with the approximately 25,000 tons that the city of Milwaukee has. And we were able to put up a brand new, what we call joint MRF, Joint Material Recovery Facility, in the city of Milwaukee. So that process began in 2014, 2015. And at the same time, we executed brand new intergovernmental agreements with all of our recycling communities that essentially covered two things. It discussed this dividend program as well as alternate processing arrangements. Fast forward a bit from after we're processing, around that 2014, 2015 time, things are going really well. And then roughly around 2019, China Sword happens. If you're unfamiliar with China Sword, that is when China very stringently restricted the import of recyclable materials. And although Waukesha County was not sending recyclables to China, what happened was our local markets were just inundated with material that would have otherwise been sent overseas. So we saw market sales just completely drop. As a result of that, we once again updated our intergovernmental agreements to ensure that that dividend payment program was reflective of the true financial performance of the program. So that happened around 2021, 2022, and your community elected to sign that intergovernmental agreement. So again, fast forward to May of 2023, we are still operating out of our recycling facility in Milwaukee, and we experienced a catastrophic fire. This fire completely ruined our system. Unfortunately, because the fire burned for so hot, for so long, we were unable to definitively point to the source of the fire. However, looking across the industry, you've probably seen news articles about lithium-ion battery fires. We suspect that is the source of what happened at our facility. I'll let Alan kind of take from here, talk about the study.
Okay. So May 31st, 2023 happened, and instantly we had to jump into action. We have 100,000 households in our program, 25 communities, and we needed to start moving material to other locations. Now, with our facility in Milwaukee, we were the only show in town. We didn't have backup facilities, and so we needed to start to divert that material to other locations, which happened in 24 hours. The next day, people were rolling their carts out to the curbs, and within about a week or two, people sort of forgot about what had happened there. Meanwhile, the other private processors in the region picked up the slack for us and did that for 18 months. And there was no additional cost to any of the communities. The county used fund balance to offset those costs to the communities. Meanwhile, what we did was a study. So we brought in consultants to look at what would be the cost to rebuild this facility. Well, as you can understand, over the course of 9-10 years, construction costs had tripled, construction timelines had tripled, insurance had order of magnitude higher. And it just didn't make sense for us to rebuild this facility when other private companies had already made that investment. So GFL, your hauler, built a $50 million recycling facility. Unfortunately, it's in Horicon, so it's a little bit of a distance away, but beautiful state-of-the-art facility. Waste Management had just put $40 million into their facility in Germantown. John's has 2 facilities to the south. So when we went through this study, it was pretty clear that taking county dollars and investing $20 to $30 million into rebuilding this facility just didn't make financial sense. So then we shifted gears and we decided that we would look to work with private processors to see what kind of price we can get. We brought in a consultant again to guide us through this process. And they had said, if you can get processing between $95 and $100 per ton, that's a really good number nationally. Well, we went through this RFP process, which included a couple of different options. One was take all of our 25,000 tons, take it to a single location, process it, you give us the revenue of what the value of the material is. We also had a couple other options which included transfer of material. So if GFL wanted to get in the game, we were going to need to transload into walking floor trailers and take it to Horicon. The other option was to divide up your tonnage or the RU tonnage to different locations. Well, the RFP showed that there wasn't any value in dividing up the material and sending it to other locations. It cost more money to do that than what it costs to just send it to a single location. So at the end of the day, we issued a 10-year contract to WM to process all of our materials in Germantown. Again, they had just done a $40 million upgrade, state of the art. They've taken on the risk of batteries and fires and all the things that go with it. So that leads us to where we are today. So we've been sending material to Waste Management since last May. But we have intergovernmental agreements with communities that say your material is going to Mount Vernon Avenue, downtown Milwaukee, which just is not the case. So we decided we would pull together our municipal work groups, and we met in June of 2025 and in August of 2025 to hash through what these changes look like. And those are the changes that you guys have seen in the IGA. Changing the address from Mount Vernon Avenue, Milwaukee to Germantown. We also made some other improvements in that model where we talk about tip fees and dividends. It said that we shall charge tip fees. Well, we've used fund balance to cover costs over the past couple of years, and it is our commitment to continue to do that over the next 10 years. And so we changed that word to may. So it is our intent to keep this cost neutral to your community for the next 10 years. So where are we with IGA updates? Out of the 25 communities, 18 are signed and on file. There's 7 or 8 communities that are still working through the process. Town of Delafield is one of those. I had reached out to Michelle a month plus ago and I said, hey, how can I help? And I said, if you'd like for us to come to a board meeting and talk through the IGA updates and recycling in general, happy to do it, which led to today. So thank you for having us. A few of the other communities, say Town of Brookfield is still working through the process. Town of Merton is still working through the process. So we're not done. But we wanted to make ourselves available so that we could walk through this with you, answer any questions that you may have around this. And at the end of the day, if you sign an IGA with us, that's great. It's not required by law. The state law does not say that you have to have an IGA with us, but we have found intergovernmental agreements to be a great backbone for our partnership over time because it breaks down how it is that we work together. So with that, I guess I would, let me just point out one other thing. At the bottom of this sheet, I took an excerpt out of our contract with Waste Management. And this is where some questions have come up from communities, because it talks a little bit about reduced capacity. So when you have a recycling facility, you've got both preventative maintenance and then you've got downtime, and it happens. And when we were the only show in town in Milwaukee, we didn't have a backup facility, and we needed to have a belt and suspenders approach that if the operator calls us and says, we're down and we're going to be down for the next 5 days, we only had about a day or two of tip floor storage, and we couldn't store material outside, we needed to divert immediately. So there was language in the old IGA that allowed for us to call your hauler directly and say, tomorrow I need you to go somewhere else, and we'll pay you to do it. And in fact, that's what we did after the fire for 18 months. We paid your haulers to go other locations, and it cost about $1.4 million over the course of 18 months to do that. Now what we're doing is we're right-sizing it. Some communities have asked, well, the contract says that the county is protected from additional costs. And if you look at the definition of county in the contract, and that's why we had this excerpt here, it includes all the RU communities. So there's no ability for Waste Management to say, we want the town of Delafield to pay more because we had a bearing go down or we need to process somewhere else. Our contract is set up that regardless of whether or not it's being processed in Germantown, it's going to Germantown. Your hauler pulls in, goes over the scale, goes up the tip floor, tips the material, drives away. It's Waste Management's responsibility. Now, that's a big company, and they've got a lot of resources, so they've got the ability to say, hey, we've got maintenance coming up next week. We're going to be processing in another location, which just happened last month. They were down for 20 hours, and they were working with other regional processors, and it had no impact to us. So the system is working. The contract's working. I think I would probably open it up to questions.
So where's the city of Milwaukee? I'm trying to go through this. Had a partnership with them.
Yeah.
Since the fire, are we not partnering? Are we done, or are we still doing all this collaboratively?
So, good question, Terry. We needed to do an ordinance with our county board to do the 10-year contract with Waste Management. That ordinance gave us the ability to terminate our agreement with the city of Milwaukee. Now, that facility still sits there today as it was in May of 2023, full of burnt steel. And so we need to do some cleanup there. The city of Milwaukee is leading that process to get a contractor in there to scrap it all. Once that's done, we will reconcile our books. We will give a firm handshake, and we will go our opposite directions. But I can tell you that city of Milwaukee is going to Waste Management too.
Okay. And I trust that you looked, as you were doing all this explanation, just in the big picture, not necessarily town of Delafield, but like, what is Dane County doing? What is Walworth County doing? I'm just interested. What are they doing?
Yeah, there's a big processor that serves the Madison area, and that is Pelletieri. Pelletieri was a great partner for us. They've got a transfer station in Watertown. So they were taking a lot of our material to Watertown and was a great partner. Their costs were just too high because they're too far away.
Okay.
So that distance really does make a big difference. GFL is a very big player in Wisconsin, and they're serving the La Crosse area, central Wisconsin. If you drive up north to recreate up north, you'll see the green dumpsters and the bins and things there. So GFL's got a big presence, but in our area, their Horicon recycling facility is an hour away. And so that's cost prohibitive because we would have to take every haul truck and drive it an hour, which would cost a lot of money. But their numbers came in very, very competitive. One other thing about your hauler, GFL, when we did our contract with WM, they did a public records request on us. So we provided them all the RFP materials. And at the time, Jason Johnson was the account representative. And so we sat down with Jason and said, what does this mean for our GFL communities? And he had said, it doesn't make any difference to us if we're going downtown Milwaukee or if we're going to Germantown. And so there's been no additional costs or even rumblings that I've heard of from GFL regarding this change from downtown Milwaukee to Germantown. And if you have heard different, I'd like to know that. But GFL, I think they were just disappointed that they didn't get the contract.
Is the dividend ever going to come back?
Very good question. So we do have another handout because we get that question quite a bit. The dividend could come back. Now, the dividend model is based on positive cash flow. So what Abby's going to hand out right here is the dividend distribution to the town of Delafield since 2001, I believe. I'm going to do this off the top of my head. Overall, the county has given the town of Delafield $568,911. And if you look, those early years, 2001 through 2007, that was the dual stream facility in Waukesha, and then markets really took off around 2009. We were also doing a spend down, so we were making a bunch of money on the sale of recyclables, and to tell you the truth, that fund balance was looking pretty attractive for other program areas. So what we did was a spend down. We gave that money back to the community. So those dividends around 2011 to 2018, those were really, really good years. As Abby mentioned, National Sword or China Sword happened 2018, 2019. Global markets tanked, and that's when we had to stop doing dividends. So you'll see that dip 2020, 2021, 2022, no dividends. What we did with the 2021 dividend IGA was we based it on skip year accounting. And what I mean by that would be that a 2023 dividend would be based on closed books accounting for 2021. So there was a bit of a delay there. So again, we did the new IGAs in 2021, and within 2 years, we got back to dividends. So they weren't big because markets are kind of tough right now, but we gave you back about, I don't know, $7,000 to $8,000 in 2023 and 2024. What happened in 2023? A catastrophic fire. We ended up losing $600,000. We covered that cost with fund balance. We could have done a tip fee. We said, no, we're not going to do that to our communities. And so that's where we are today. We are still feeling the impacts of the 2023 fire. We don't have closed books accounting yet for 2025, should be coming in the next month or so. Then we will know what a dividend would look like for the following year. So to your question, Mr. Kranick, I hope so, but there's a lot of variables. And right now, you know how gas is cheap? Well, that makes oil cheap, and that makes plastic
Really cheap.
really cheap. To make new plastic can be cheaper than using recycled plastic. So right now, plastic markets are in the tank. So it's interesting how global markets impact little old Wisconsin, but it does because these companies that we're working with, they're exporting all over the globe. And so the markets that we're seeing and using are reflective of what's going on a global scale.
So, two quick questions on the
Yeah.
fire portion. I know it doesn't have a conclusive result, but lithium ion is, most likely. I mean, they have an idea of what kind, size-wise, you're not talking like a foam battery, lithium ion battery, or are you talking somebody tossed
No, but what's interesting about that question is where the fire ended up in the facility. So the fire ended up in the paper bunkers, which is pretty far along. So that's after a lot of sorting is done. So this fire traveled. And it wasn't like it was a sprocket or a belt. It was something on fire that was traveling through the facility, which would sort of indicate that this is like one of those fires a fire extinguisher isn't going to touch it, and it was moving. There's also still insurance companies seeking fault from our operator. So that whole saga hasn't been cleared out either.
Well, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
So how is that covered? in
Yeah.
your
So
insurance?
we received an insurance payout for the equipment, and we put that into our fund balance. So when I talk about we're going to cover the costs, and I can't commit future county boards to do this, but this is what we're intending, is to cover any additional costs for the next 10 years to the communities. That insurance payout money is helping to offset those costs. We still have some money with the city of Milwaukee. There was a separate fund that was called the ERF, Equipment Replacement Fund. And it was intended to buy belts and motors and sprockets and all sorts of stuff. That's still sitting there. And it's not until we're going to close out our account with Milwaukee and shake hands and say, hey, it's great, till we know what that balance looks like, and that too will move back over to our fund balance. So unfortunately, there's still some settling to be done.
I mean, there's only more and more products with lithium-ion batteries coming. Like, what's the industry doing to account for that stuff?
Great question. Right now, there's some interesting legislation on the floor, just passed Senate and the House. It has bipartisan support to essentially establish responsibility on those battery manufacturers to create labeling, things to help support recycling programs like ours.
Yep, so there's legislation working its way, that there needs to be more responsibility. If you're gonna make and sell these things, you need to have outlets to get rid of them. So that and education, but there's lithium-ion batteries in so many
Right.
things these days.
I guess that's the concern, right? I mean, you end up with
Yeah.
with something this big that somebody tosses in their recycling
and that's
bin.
Phone enough to do that damage?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
One of the great things too about waste management, I would say that made their proposal in this contract so attractive is they really have cutting-edge, state-of-the-art equipment to help protect against fires like this. They use fire rover technology. Frankly, it's a Roomba that just hangs out on the top of their facility, and
Yep.
it's constantly monitoring for those heat spots. I talked to our facility
Abby,
operator.
this is so interesting, and for our people who are watching it live stream, yeah, just
Thank
thank
you.
you for going to the microphone.
Thank you. Frankly, as I said, it's like a Roomba, and it's watching for these hot spots on the floor and will trigger that, fire suppression technology, the foam, the water, whatever. And talking with our facility operator, that is deployed fairly regularly. They're using this technology frequently.
Yeah, because they don't, I mean, they don't go out
No,
once they start. But you generally, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I've seen it enough, but it's like generally, there's a good lead-up time because they get overheated, they swell, they start to steam, and then they catch on fire. But once they've caught on fire, it's kind of too late. And so, yeah, I mean, those thermal cameras effectively.
yeah, 24-hour-a-day monitoring, and it's remote too. So I think that the service is based out of New Jersey or something. So there's somebody in a control room watching and scanning the piles for hotspots. There's a lot of things that can cause fires in recycling. But that was one of the additional costs, that if we were gonna rebuild, that's the level of protection you need to even get insurance at all. And your premiums are still gonna be really, really high. I think it was Farmers Insurance. I don't think Farmers Insurance knew what they were insuring, so they were a little surprised when we filed a claim. But that's what we're seeing. I want to say in 2023, there was 50 catastrophic recycling facility fires across the nation. So that's about it's like 5% or something like that. Unfortunately, we were one of them, but it is more and more common.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
No, really, really interesting stuff. Really appreciate the history lesson and you coming and sharing with us. I would like to get a tour next time. There's a tour of the MRF at some point,
We
so.
have spots on Thursday?
We actually have space available this Thursday if you're available.
Okay. Send me an email and we can.
Yep.
Do that.
Yep, so, and that goes for the rest of the board as well. Thursdays are when we do tours over there, and it's very eye-opening to go and see this operation. The technology, if you're into that kind of thing, it is really impressive, and so I encourage it. So we can reach back out and let you know. I think Village and Neshota is sending their whole board, so I think we've got Neshota going.
Can't do it all at once.
Yeah, right. Be a quorum. We'd
Quorum
have a hard time.
violations.
Yeah, we couldn't do
Yeah.
that.
Post a
Maybe they
quorum
have to
notice.
post a notice,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
So the next item would be taking action on the Waukesha County Recycling Intergovernmental Agreement.
Okay.
I think we got all our answers.
Yeah, I was
Questions
gonna say, I
answered.
mean, right, no other questions, I'm guessing, right?
No, I got my questions answered. I appreciate them coming. I think we should sign it and, not be one of the last holdout communities, so. I would look for a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Waukesha County as presented.
I motion to approve the IGA with the Waukesha County Recycling agreement as presented.
A second.
Motion is second to approve the county recycling intergovernmental agreement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thanks, guys.
Next item, new business, presentation by Waukesha County Sheriff's Department for 2025 services. No, if you can, you just hand it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'm Lieutenant Peterson, Waukesha County Sheriff. I work late night patrol here as a supervisor with the 2025 annual report. So obviously we have a long tradition providing law enforcement services on a contractual basis to communities within Waukesha County. So in 2025, Deputy Mackenzie Kubishak, she was assigned to this contract. However, she promoted to one of our canine handlers. And then shortly after that, in August, Deputy Lauren Stevenson, she took over as primary deputy for this contract. So obviously working second shift, 3 p.m. to 11. So in reference to this report, it'll address the statistics for the town of Delafield for 2025. So between the two contract deputies, they responded to a total of 905 calls for service. Of those calls, 41 were pertaining to 911 calls that were dispatched as either hang-ups, open lines, or no cause. And just a definition on what a no cause is, it's an accidental dial, smartwatch bump, they didn't intend to call 911. And absolutely we investigate that and make sure there is in fact no emergencies there. So 114 of those calls were taken either requesting well-being checks or a medical/fire call for service. The contract deputy completed 309 building checks of this area and 241 extra patrols in 2025. They also responded to 8 alarms, 24 domestic/disputes, so either one, 14 fraud complaints, and 31 suspicious activity calls. As far as traffic enforcement or action, 107 traffic citations were issued, 16 written warnings were issued, and 87 verbal warnings during the 157 traffic stops that were conducted in this area. In addition to traffic-related citations being issued, 6 municipal ordinance citations and 44 parking citations were issued. There was a total of 5 OWI arrests and 158 incidents of either reckless driving, disabled vehicles, or other traffic offenses. The town of Delafield contract deputy responded to a total of 36 vehicle crashes last year. 35 of the crashes involved property damage only. One was either an injury or a death, and 24 of those crashes involved some type of animal, car, deer, turkey, coyote, whatever it may be. The Waukesha County Sheriff's Office remains dedicated to providing responsive, customer-oriented service to contract communities or unincorporated areas of Waukesha County. And then on the back, I have basically all the stats broken down here.
So this is, the top page is 25, and then we're supposed to compare it, this is 24.
Unfortunately, this is 2025, and I compared the two, and it was just a clerical error. I know it does say 2024, but it is in fact from 2025, and I apologize for that.
That's okay.
And if we were to compare it to 2024, what's the trend? Or is it too, not that you'd even know it on the top of your head, I'm just trying.
Off the top of my head, I do not know, but
we
I
have
have
it.
not, me personally, I have not seen any spikes in anything, whether it's traffic, whether it's domestics, whether any of these calls for service. I have not seen any, great increases on any nature of calls.
Do you happen to know what type of, what's the most common cause for like the crashes involving some type of animal? Was it mostly deer?
Deer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, item B, consideration of a condominium restrictions for North by Northwest storage on a property located north of US Highway 18, John Burgett, owner applicant, tax key number DELT 0843.998.002, as recommended unanimously by the Town Plan Commission at their meeting last week, Tuesday, February 2nd, 2026. So the condo docs were presented at the Town Plan Commission. We recommended approval unanimously to the town board. So there was no conflict in between town code and anything that was,
And no extra concerns or anything? I mean, it's all pretty standard.
yeah, no,
Where is this, down on
it's,
18?
it's on 18,
By,
west of We Energies. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
basically on the
okay.
town.
All right, it's the one
Genesis-
that keeps coming up?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been going on for a while. And the only thing that we kind of talked about really was outdoor storage, because it wasn't in the condo declarations. However, it was in the conditional
No
use.
outdoor storage
There's no
there.
outdoor
Correct.
storage,
And so we
no.
just wanted to, because
Got
it
a
wasn't written.
pre-existing pole barn on the property, I think, out there. I'm familiar with it.
No, he's building, yeah.
Building,
He's building more
Right.
on there, but
Yeah.
that's the
Right.
property.
yeah.
And there is no outdoor storage, even though it wasn't in the condo declarations, it was already in the conditional use
In the
permit.
conditional use
So
permit,
just,
yeah.
we just had to kind of just circle that to make sure, and it was covered in a bigger scale.
Okay, great.
Yeah, because I think the condo docs and usage wasn't necessarily the issue. I kind of came back and forth. That was the building materials and structure and stuff.
And I think just just,
Yeah, okay. Motion to approve the condo restrictions for north by northwest storage on property located north of US Highway 18 as presented.
second.
Motion is second to approve the condo docs. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions, motion passes 5-0. Announcements and planning items. Reminder, there is no election in the town of Delafield next Tuesday, February 17th. There is a town board meeting on the 24th of this month, February, at 6:30. There is an LCFR board meeting Wednesday, the 25th, Station 37, Wales, Genesee. There is a LCFR partner meeting tomorrow at 11 o'clock at the City of Delafield Station. Anything else I'm missing?
The Pewaukee Lake Advisory Council will be meeting on the 24th at 4 o'clock at the Village. On the 20th, yeah, so the same day as our meeting here at the Village at 4 o'clock.
Nothing else? I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
Motion second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned. 5-0. Thank you.
7:13.
Thank you.